Trudy sitting in for Elias today. We are talking now about the effect of this Quebec Labor Tribunal ruling that has stuck a stick in the spokes of the wheels of the FIQ affiliated unions. They had been planning to launch a boycott of overtime on Thursday to press their contract demands. Now, this union, this is one of the big nurses union, the FIQ. It has a lot of affiliates, and those workers have been without a contract for over a year and a half now. And they are struggling to reach. When we had, the presentation of an offer, it didn't go so well earlier in the year. A couple of different permutations considered. So here with an update for us on where this ruling leaves the FIQ affiliated unions are joining us is Jenny Rhee, president of the MUHC Nursing and Cardiorespiratory Professionals Union. Jenny, welcome to CJAD.
Good morning, Trudy.
So how are you? I am okay. I am a little bit worried because I can understand the point that the Labor Tribunal made with this ruling that a boycott of overtime introduced suddenly on Thursday would have kind of thrown the healthcare system into chaos because it seems to function on overtime, much to the detriment of the workers who are obliged to put in those extra hours. But I also see the point of a union that is struggling to reach a contract with a government that seems to have dug in its heels. You've been negotiating for a year and a half, hoping, or probably longer.
538 days, yes.
Yeah. So now that you're not allowed to boycott overtime, where does that leave you?
So if I could just explain a little bit to the general public, the union, having reached such an impasse with the government during our negotiations, it became obvious that, it was either that or a strike. And we all understand that strike is not fun either. So, we wanted to apply some pressure, and we asked our members to stop offering availability for their overtime. And you need to understand that on a regular grid, a schedule comes out. We have auto scheduling at the MUHC. A lot of other centers are starting to implement that as well. And what we saw, what we see on a daily basis is that a lot of the shifts where we have massive holes, people are voluntarily applying for, are agreeing to fill those holes, and that's how the system is running today. Now, when we became obvious that we needed to apply some kind of pressure to move our talks along with this government to kind of wake them up a little bit and say, listen, we need to come to an agreement. We put that in, and of course we were taken to the TAT. We were expecting that, but what was surprising was we were taken to the TAT by the Protection des Malades. So it's kind of like a user group for, I guess, sick people, and they advocate for patients. Not the patients committee, but a separate entity on their own. And the ruling came out by the TAT that, yes, an action that is concerté or orchestrated or planned by the union as in this means was declared illegal. Now, this being said, it's very frustrating, as you mentioned, Trudy, and you are very insightful in saying that, the nature of our work, our union, we always feel like our hands are tied. And I'll explain it like this. When we go to a strike and you see essential services have to be maintained, of course, but our essential service numbers are higher than what we have on the floors today. And then you have an action where we say, okay, stop volunteering to fill those holes. Oh, that's declared illegal as well. At this point, I can honestly tell you, we remain frustrated. We remain unhappy. And it is in the public's best interest that this government negotiate with us for a fair and decent contract. And I've told our members, look, I cannot, as a union, push this action, but you understand, you're not forced to do overtime. We don't have forced overtime at the MUHC, but we have a workload issue. That is clear. We're working very hard to fill the needs of the public and take good care of our patients. And I think we've done a hell of a good job up to now, but we need the public support as well in saying, look, this isn't okay. 538 days without a contract, negotiate with us and get us to a place where we need to be to deliver the care and not focus on this anymore.
It does seem to be unfortunate that the government probably knows that people in caring professions don't like the idea of walking away from their patients. And there's this, we've heard from nurses in the past that there is this pervasive pressure that you fill the holes. You have to fill the holes because if you don't fill the holes, the patients are going to not get the care that they need. And it sounds to me like the government is exploiting this.
I agree with you 100%. And it's, I have to say it's sad because today, if I was to ask myself, my 18-year-old self, would you ever go into this profession again? And the answer is no. I've asked my fellow healthcare professionals, would you do it again? The answer is no. And that's sad because the nature of our work, we are human beings taking care of human beings, and it's an honorable profession. It's a very nice thing to do in terms of societal values and needs. That being said, it has a cost. And it has a cost to us emotionally, mentally, physically, every day when we're at work. Okay, it's a cross between, do I go for lunch or do I, do I give my medication because it's already an hour overdue? Or I'm giving you an example, but we're always kind of torn. And yes, it's the nature of our work, and it is exploited because as a union, our hands are much more tied than, let's say, the police officers or other, and they're essential too. So I do feel we are 92% women. I do feel, and I don't want to, keep screaming that, but why is it that we are having such difficulty? That's a question that I would ask this government.
Do you feel, now you've mentioned that a concerted boycott is illegal. Do you believe your members at the MUHC will take matters into their own hand and decide on a personal level, I just can't do any overtime anymore, I'm not going to volunteer to fill the overtime spots?
Well, certainly, Trudy, what has happened with all of this over the past few months, okay, it has raised the consciousness of our membership, and it has asked valid questions, and many of them are saying no more. Okay, it's coming at too much of a price to me. I'm not feeling well. I'm exhausted. And some of them have made that personal decision. It's just that we as a union can no longer promote and push this action to say, this is our mot d'ordre. This is our, from this date on, we're not doing it. It becomes a personal decision. Now, there are some who will continue to do overtime. And listen, we have a very low rate, according to our directors at MUHC. We have a 6% overtime rate at the MUHC. But when we put in that pressure tactic last couple of weeks ago, we got tremendous reaction from the directors at MUHC. They were like, no, this can't be. We're very concerned. So even an institution that has a 6% overtime rate is kind of upset. Can you imagine in other areas where they're far more problematic with staffing if people refuse to do overtime? We're not talking about forced overtime. We're talking about voluntarily filling the holes on a schedule. Can you imagine how those places are reacting? And so, yes, today I cannot push it as a union, but it has certainly caused people to say, I'm not personally going to do it anymore.
And just quickly, the update on contract talks. I think we saw an offer come out, was it last weekend, from the conciliator?
It wasn't an offer, so I just want to make it clear. Because we are two sides, the Parti patronal, the government, and us, we are so far apart in our negotiations. And it really had a lot to do with mobility flexibility, but also on salaries and other conditions that we really wanted more. Okay, we want more. And what I can tell you is that the mediator, it's the first time it's happened in history that they have put in their recommendations. It's not an entente de principe. It's not a collective agreement, a tentative agreement. He is putting in a recommendation where he has presented it to both sides. Both sides you can't pick and choose from his recommendations. We have to take it in the whole or we reject it in its entirety. And the decision that was made yesterday, we were in Laval, we made a decision as a delegation to present it to our members. We are not recommending, we are not saying anything. We are staying neutral in our stance, and we want the members to decide.
And when will that occur?
That will occur. So in the next few days, we'll be giving general assemblies. We're going across the province. Every affiliated union will be giving their own general assemblies, giving their members the information, and then there will be a national referendum mid-October. And then the results will speak for themselves. Now, clearly, if the members agree with the recommendations of the conciliator, the mediator, then obviously that will be one step further, one step closer to getting a collective agreement signed.
Jenny Rhee, thanks very much for the update.
Thank you very much for having me, Trudy. Thank you.
Jenny Rhee is president of the MUHC Nursing and Cardiorespiratory Professionals Union.